Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. Thank you for joining us today. This is our DHS Youth TA session, and we actually don't have a whole lot to talk about today because we did have a pretty significant meeting last week that was hosted by ICOI. So I will be happy to answer any questions. I do have one question that I needed clarification on, and that was somebody said that they were having problems with the selective service, and I didn't catch all of the details on that one. So if you do happen to be on this meeting today and are having issues with the selective service, let me know. And then another one of the organizations brought up the fact that the subsidized days are not tracking properly for their particular organization. So if somebody can check while we're on the meeting and see if they've got somebody that's got subsidized days that they know were in a program last year, and then again this year, let me know if they're tracking the days right, please, before we get off the call. So that selective service I need to know about, and then you need to document your transportation options. And I remember, yes, I am. Sorry, my husband just walked in. The selective service is mandatory if the youth is over 18 years of age. It doesn't mean that it's mandatory that they can't participate, but they have to be registered for selective service if they're over 18 years of old and were born male. So I know that can get a little confusing sometimes, but if they were born male and they're over 18, they have to be registered for selective service. They can participate, but you have to get them registered. Okay. But there was a question about the selective service with it not tracking right, and I just really can't remember the details. And I think it might have been something to do with the link going out. What if they don't want to? That is a Brandon question. Brandon, you are on the call. So if a youth who is over 18 that was born male does not want to register for selective service, will you still allow them to participate? And you're muted if you're talking.
Yes, sorry. I'm going to have to check on that for sure. I want to say that they have to register, but I need to double check on that.
Are these federal dollars, Brandon?
No.
These are not federal dollars. They're not coming to us anywhere from any of the federal agencies. No. Okay. So that if it's coming from federal dollars, that's a yes, you have to. But well, I just need to ask. I know there's someone up higher up I need to ask, because that's a question though that applies to all of our programs within our division. So I mean, if it's, like if it applies to Teen Reach, it applies to this too. Yes. Stuff like that. So I just need to find that out for sure. I know it's not exactly in the NOFO, but I think they do have to register. So until I tell you differently, yes, they have to register, because I think they do. Okay. All right. Brandon, is there any way that you can send an email and see if maybe we can get a question answered before we're off the call?
Yes, I'll do it right now.
Cool beans.
Yep.
And then document transportation options. That was a question that came up on the call last week. And I don't remember who asked it, but if you have different transportation options available to you, you can put them in as a support service piece and document it with a case note. We had a discussion about Uber being able to be, or Lyft being able to be used, and you do have the ability to modify your overall grant to change money from one area to another. If you need more money for transportation, you can take it from one area and move it over to that transportation and submit a modification request to Brandon and Nicole. So that's, and if there was a different question about documenting the transportation options, please ask me about that as well. Okie doke. Did anybody happen to look for the support subsidized wage days? All right, I want to thank everyone on the call and everybody who isn't actually here for answering me back with the information about the user management piece. So remember that if you have somebody in your group and you need to remove them, you can go to the Customer Support Center, go to the User Management tab, click the red X to take them out of the group, and then add a partner to the group if you need to. Remember that you need to be picking the groups that are labeled IYIP. Now, I didn't change them all in test, but in production, I changed all of these agencies that were CYEP or YEEP or any of those other ones to IYIP. So you need to look for the IYIP and the name of your organization to make sure that you've got your staff in the right place. All right, any questions about user management? Okay. All right, that's all I have for that I need to talk about. So Kate has her hand up.
Question, yeah, I just want to make sure you saw me. Question about subsidized and unsubsidized wages. So if we've had an organization, a business, worksite, doing unsubsidized wages and now have all of a sudden agreed that they would like to do subsidized with us and we're going to do 50-50, is there specific documentation I need to use to change that? And then also, what does that look like if I'm going in now and we've had a participant there for a couple of months unsubsidized and now we're changing it to subsidized when we're talking about how many days of work they've been doing? I just want to make sure I do everything correctly.
Well, you need the worksite agreement and you need to modify it. I would think modify it to indicate that there is going to be some subsidized wage in there.
So am I going backwards in terms of the start date and just putting like the new start date with subsidized wages? Or do I go back and put the old start date?
You're going to put the subsidized start date for when you start the subsidy.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
And then since it's a match.
Yes.
Since it's a match, you are going to be paying the subsidy. They're paying the balance. So Brandon, we had that situation with an agency in Bloomington that did a match. How do you want them to report that on the payroll upload?
Well, first of all, Kate, yes, you definitely have to have a worksite agreement, because the big difference between subsidized and unsubsidized employer is that the worksite agreement is required with all those pieces that are outlined in the NOFO for the subsidized employment, and it's just recommended. It's not required for a non-subsidized employer. As far as the match, you mean just like paying part of their wage?
Well, yeah, we're paying 750, they're paying 750.
Okay, well then, it's still reported as $15.
Correct. But do I need to do something specific, or am I just, what we're just doing is they're paying the full paycheck and we're just reimbursing?
You're gonna
The work
reimburse
site.
them, okay. In WorkNet, you would just mark it as 750 and 750, like
Okay.
750 subsidized, 750 unsub.
Okay,
Still need to report the hours in payroll on the payroll upload, but your dollar amount is going to be half that you're going to have to verify. And you're doing a reimbursement, so it's going to have to show up on your fiscal too.
so can I schedule another call with you privately to go through this?
Sure.
Thanks, Dee. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, and I'm not, Dee can definitely help you with the WorkNet piece of it, but as far as like for the PPR and for us, it would still be reported as $15 an hour, because we want to know exactly what the youth is making.
Okay. Okay, even though it's split, still reported as 15.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I'll show you how to split it.
Thank you, Dee.
Well, and actually, once we stop recording, I can probably do it without having to do a whole nother call.
Okay.
All right. Anything else that I can continue recording with?
I have a question.
Wait, where's Darrell?
I know, right? He's not able to join today. I did notice that the Casey Life Skills changed. I noticed that they were added into the plan as a step and taken out of the actual assessment tools. And so each step, like for example, daily living, do you guys want us to just put the score that each youth have for each one of those areas they were assessed on?
Okay, so I have not attended a Casey Life Skills training yet, so I don't know as much about the actual training as I should. But if there's a particular score where they score well enough that they don't have to do a class or a workshop on that, is you can mark the step as evaluated, not required.
Okay.
And if you want to put in there the other notes, like this was what they scored, so we evaluated that it's not required.
Okay. And so the lower scores kind of just provide those with some type of steps
Workshop
or
or
follow-up. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And that should be in your plan, but you can still add under the assessments, and I gotta find it here.
That's something I was noticing. So when I went into assessments before, it would say Casey Life Skills an option. It was, but now I noticed that it is no longer an option. When we click under, it will say something like other assessments, and then it would say like Casey, but now there is nothing there. When you click on there, you see it's just.
You gotta pick skills.
You know what, while I'm right here, let me check and see if I have that option, because I didn't see that at first where it says skills. Let me check.
If you pick the other assessment and then pick the skills, then you'll see the Casey Life Skills pop up.
Okay, I'm gonna play around with that really quickly.
Okay,
Just in case anybody else have questions, and I'll let you know if we have another problem.
okay. All right. Anybody else have a question that I can answer before I take it off recording?
Dee, this is Sarah Chapman.
Yes.
I have a question about switching the students from category 1 to categories 2, 3, and 4. And if we can select the date that we switch the category, basically just for accounting purposes to making sure that we're paying them out of the right pot of money, because I know there were only 90 days that we could pay them in category 1. So,
Right.
So when we switch them over, are we allowed to pick that, we switched them, say, September 1st, if that was necessary to meet the 90-day criteria?
Right.
Because I was on a call with Brandon last week, and we did have a couple who started like the very end of May. And so they were at like 100 subsidized days, it appeared, in WorkNet. And I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't a disallowed cost, that it was, we were paying them 10 days out of the wrong pot of money. So I've got them switched over. I just wanted to make sure that that was okay, that we pick the start date to switch them to the new category.
Yeah, and what you would have to do is pick the category, put the date in, and then pick these bottom two. So like if you want to do September 1st, oh, can you see?
Yep, I can see. I see what
Okay.
you're doing.
And then pick in or out and pick what they are. This person hasn't been determined eligible yet, so I can't enroll them, but
Okay, but you're doing this through the progress tab. I think not sure where I was doing it.
yeah, you need to do it on the progress tab.
Okay, I think I went to overview and maybe it took me to progress.
Probably.
Okay, good deal. Okay, just double checking that I'm doing that right, because I'm in the process of switching everybody who's continuing on from category 1 into, continued subsidized pay, just in a different category. We had 22 kids that are continuing on from the summer. So
Nice.
I've done a couple, and I just want to make sure that before I do them all, I'm doing it right.
Good. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Great. All righty. Anybody else?
Hi, Dee. This is Lenada from St. Sabina.
Hi.
So listen, Dee, over here at St. Sabina, we're still having a little, problem with the Employment 101 guide. Like, we sat there with our youth and walked them through the whole thing. But when we look back at the overview, it still shows red. So is it something that we're not doing right, or is because the Employment 101 guide is totally different from the way it used to be?
Yeah, send me a couple of users, and Veach, you too. Send me a couple of users with their email address so that I can double check what's going on with that.
Okay.
And so I need their name and their email address so that I can find them and see what's happening with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else have a general question?
Hi, Dia. I don't know if this counts as general or not, but we discussed earlier about adding me as an admin for my organization.
Yeah, I want to do that after we finish recording.
Okay, great.
All right. Any other general questions? All right, I'm going to stop. Bernard, is this something that I can record? Are you going to type it, or do you want to open up your mic? Okay. We'll all just sit patiently. Let's all twiddle thumbs. So the sky got really dark, but it has not rained yet. It's just blowing all around.
It's storming here like crazy.
Is it rain?
Yeah, like hard.
Hopefully it stayed up by you instead of when those tornadoes blew through a few weeks back. There were some to the south of me and some to the north of me, and nothing right I was blessed. Let's see here. Can we work with employers retroactively, say they have a youth and want to put them into the program after they have already hired them as unsubsidized? So Bernard, do they want to make them subsidized now? Brandon, that's a question for you. So they have a youth that was already working, that was hired, and now they want to go on, now they want to go subsidized. So it would probably be the same situation that Kate had, only Bernard, are they going to split the wage, or are they just gonna rely on you? No split, okay. So then you then become the paying employer. The work site placement stays the same. You would have to enter the start date. Do they want you to pay them retroactively to the beginning of the job, or just start like now, today? Start today? Is that? Yeah, you would just put the subsidized wage date in as of today. Let me do this. I can do this in test here. So from a career plan, so Kate, this is the same thing that would be happening with you. So if you're going to, oh, wait, I need to get to a, hang on, I need to get to a current customer.
And he would need to have a employer agreement also.
A worksite agreement because of the subsidy.
Right, it works, right.
Okay, so from the career plan, we go to add steps and services. We go to a get a job category, find a step. If they don't have that step, then you're going to add employment. Oops, helps if I get my fingers on the right keys. All right, trying to find the step. I'm just going to do on the job training, just because it's the same process no matter what. So you have to pick, you have to add the job. You put in what the minimum wage for placement is. So it's 15. What's the hourly wage for placement? How much are you going to subsidize? So Kate, in your situation, it would be $7.50 here. In Bernard's situation, it would be 15. It would be 15 here. So like Kate would put in $7.50, and then it would say that the unsubsidized wage would be $7.50, where Bernard would put in $15, and the unsubsidized wage from the employer would be $0. Is it full-time or part-time? Have they started? And then here for both of you, the start date may have been July 1. So that might be 7.
But D, am I wanting to put in the original start date or the subsidized start date, which wouldn't be until, let's say, everything goes through and is signed?
So the start date is, when did they start working there?
Period.
When did they
regardless
start
of-
working at the job?
Okay,
The subsidized start date might be
Ah.
today or tomorrow, or So Bernard, you got that one? He's got to type. The job starts from the original day that they started working. The subsidy starts from the day that you start the subsidy. So it might be next Monday.
Okay.
And then the 90 days or the time starts counting from the day that the subsidy date starts. Okay. All right. All right. Well, we got that on recording because we were able to do it in test. Yay. All right. What other questions can I answer? $180 hours for category 1. Can they meet those hours outside those dates, say on winter break? Brandon, what are we doing with category 1? Bernard just asked the question about if a youth does not reach their 180 hours by September 30th. Can they meet those hours outside those dates, say on winter break or maybe Thanksgiving break, or do they roll them up into category 2?
Well, they can certainly do that. They could transfer to a different category. I mean, it's possible they can go past September 30th, but it needs to be a special circumstance. I know they want all the category 1 to really be done by September 30th because we're going to be reporting on those on that first PPR on October 30th. And really, it's a summer employment program, not winter break or fall or winter or spring. I mean, it's summer employment.
So Bernard, if you've got more that you'd like to say, maybe you can email Brandon and have that conversation or have a phone conversation with him.
I mean, certainly if there's, and this year, especially with the shutdowns and COVID and everything, if there's some, circumstance where a youth could keep working and they can maybe say they work till the month of October or something and get their hours in or something like that because their place of employment was shut down or had to cut their hours or, whatever it was. I mean, we can work with that. Just send me an email. We just don't want, like 80% of our category 1 still working at Thanksgiving.
Because that definitely is not summer.
No, and it won't look good for our data for summer employment either.
Right. Yes. All right. Anything else that we can answer on the recording? All righty. So I'm going to take it off recording. Thanks for watching, everybody.